If the mainstream was to be believed, Lucio is one of the easiest characters in the game. A hero you can pick up at any level while still sufficiently helping, or at least not harming, your own team. But there's so much more to Lucio than many players give him credit for. You can get so much value out of him if you play him properly that once you grasp onto those basics, you are going to feel stupid for ever playing him like a heal bot. Today, we are continuing our series in which we break every hero down to their 5 most basic aspects and then attempt to give you guys an easier time learning how to play them. I present to you Starting Point featuring Lucio. Number 1 is going to cover the basics of movement. A change to how Lucio's mobility works a few patches ago altered him in a way that many players were not aware of, or maybe they just forgot. The most basic thing you have to understand about Lucio's mobility is that you have to look in the direction that you want to go to. You see, if you wallride and either hit A, S or D, you are going to lose most of your momentum, even mid-air. That's great because it gives you a lot of control and stops you from over-jumping your rollouts. However, it does feel like it makes it more difficult to get to top speed. And the obvious solution here is to avoid hitting anything but W while wallriding and instead look in the direction you want to go to. You can extend your rollouts and fly higher by looking up or skim walls by pulling yourself away from them with your camera. And if you try to accumulate more speed, don't forget to only tap on your jump button to wall skim rather than accidentally wall riding. The more walls you can skim in quick succession, the more momentum you can build up. And that is already where most of the magic happens. Number 2 is supposed to help you get a better grip of your hero by altering your control scheme. And that is quite a popular thing to do among Lucio players. I don't want to tell you which buttons to bind them to exactly because at the end of the day, it's mostly preference. But I want you to consider playing around with that to find your own sweet spot and tell you which controls I am using to make it easier for myself. Most notably, I've put my secondary jump key on my right click while keeping the primary one on spacebar. The reason I put it on my mouse is because the buttons on it have a shorter actuation time than my keyboard, and that I think should be the case with most gaming keyboards and mice. There's less travel time to press down on a right click versus a spacebar, making it easier for you to only tap the button for a wall skim. Wall skimming is when you only get in contact with a surface for a brief second and jump off of it immediately, which gives you a speed boost every time you chain that move. If you wall ride instead of skimming, then you're going to lose your momentum, and that's what we are trying to master here with our rebinds. But a lot of Lucio players also like to bind their jump on their scroll wheel, so just go out there and see what you like the most. Lucio as a hero can be played in a very opportunistic fashion, and that's what number 3 is all about. If you turn your brain off and only occasionally press E to amp up some heals or speed your team into an engagement, then you're really not using Lucio to its fullest potential. A good Lucio sees the game kind of like the Matrix. They see opportunities to flank, they see potential rollouts, and they are always highly aware of the enemy team's positioning. Now, I'm not expecting you to be a Lucio god right from the get-go. After all, this video is about getting you started. But I want you to always keep your eyes peeled and see the map in more of a 3-dimensional fashion. As Lucio, you do have the mobility to close distances and reach points that other heroes couldn't. You might not have the greatest damage output on paper, but getting an environmental kill can quickly turn a fight in your team's favor. And don't forget that speed boosting your teammates away can often make more sense than desperately trying to amp up heals when they are already actively taking damage. You are an off support, and currently the only hero in the game who has a speed boost. Use it and don't think too one-dimensionally. So to sum this up, always be aware of your opportunities. Now, I may have just said that Lucio does not have the greatest damage output on paper, but there's a lot that you can do with the tools you are given. Chaining headshots on tanks can do a surprising amount of damage, but what I'm talking about here is the classic Lucio combo that should become second nature to you. That includes firing an opening shot, booping them into a wall, and giving them another shot melee combo. What's great about booping enemies, even if you can't push them into a wall, is that it makes their trajectory very predictable. So you can use those moments where they are in the air to get some easy shots out on them. And don't forget that you can cancel your basic attack with a boop melee combo to do a considerable amount of damage. All in all, don't let people tell you that you can't do damage as Lucio. In fact, he's one of the best 1v1 characters in this game. This would not be a Lucio video if I didn't talk about peeling. Peeling refers to the act of removing a threat from your teammates. D.Va is arguably the best peeling hero in the game, given that her defense matrix negates most kinds of damage and she can literally push enemies away with her body. But for Lucio, naturally you can peel enemies off of your main support or squishy DPS by booping them away. But to effectively peel with Lucio, you have to use all of your tools if need be. Boop them, read their trajectory, pump damage into them and force them to disengage. Amp up some heals and body block, or just plain and simply speed boost your teammates away. Healing might not be the flashiest kind of thing in Overwatch, but trust me, your teammates will thank you. In conclusion, Lucio is very much a clutch hero. Good Lucio players aren't just passive heal bots who stand around and wait for a chance to play the game. They create their own opportunities to shine and enable their team. Speed boosting at just the right time to promote aggression or to quickly disengage are just as mandatory as looking out for your squishies to peel for them. And also being on the lookout for situations where you can come in clutch with an environmental kill or a dive on somebody who is out of position. A passive Lucio is a useless Lucio. And that's going to wrap up Starting Point Episode 2 featuring Lucio. If you like the series, then feel free to suggest which hero you would like to see next by leaving a comment down below. And if you haven't had enough, you can also check out Starting Point featuring Zenyatta by following the code on screen right now. As always, my friends, don't forget to leave me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.